Ew, big fish-ish, man. Y'all know what it is. All right, we got something for y'all today. We got something good for y'all today, and this is going to be elaborating on something that we discussed yesterday on the Wake Up Show, and it's in regards. I wrote down a couple notes from the show yesterday, but I posed the question on Instagram. And actually, I'll check to see how the poll's doing. It was 50-50, but the question was, let me read it so I can recite it word for word. The question was, if you had to choose between staying true to your principles, morals, and integrity, or compromising them to support and or protect your child, what would you choose? So if you had to choose between standing firm on your principles, morals, and integrity, that's one option. Or the other option is to compromise your principles, value, and integrity in order to protect and support your child. What would you choose? So it's 50-50 right now. So it's 8-8. 8 votes, 8 votes. And I looked through it, and it's not as if, all the men said no or all the women said no. It was a little bit, all over the place as far as, there were men on both sides. I think there were more probably men that were saying, more women were saying kids, and I think more men were saying integrity, but just slightly though, just slightly. If there's an edge at all, hold on. Now I can't even say that there's a slight edge because there's 1, 2, 3. All right, so out of the integrity votes, there's 1, 2. There's only 3 guys, and out of your kids, there's 1 guy. 2 guys. So it's we about even. We're about even. So I'm glad that I looked. So we're about even. And why I ask this is because y'all know I'm always thinking, and I'm always thinking about how to influence people. That's the selling, right? I'm in sales all day. That's what I do. And that's what everything is. Us being able to influence others, whether it's based on our opinion of something, based on, how much they should pay us for something, but we're always selling ourselves. We're always selling something and trying to influence somebody else in a particular area. So in thinking about this, I realized that people will always choose, or this is what I was thinking. And I asked the question to a couple of people close to me. I said, would you choose your kids or would you choose your integrity? And the reason why I asked is because I'm wondering if I have the wrong approach. And this will all make sense as I unpack it. My approach right now on here, speaking to you all, but I was wondering if I should just be making videos for little kids, for young kids. And I'll tell you why. First, I'll tell you why, because kids, we live in a society right now where parents will compromise their principles, morals, values, and integrity in order to appease their children, in order to fit, in order to be able to accept their children. How can I put this the right way? Parents are willing to change how they thought their entire life, change how they think may be the right way to quote unquote live, if their child is not living that way. They will then change how they used to think about their principles, morals, and values, or at least put their principles, morals, and values to the side in order to support their children. I'm not saying one is right or wrong, But this got me thinking that it doesn't matter what parents think. It doesn't matter a parent's integrity, their moral compass, their values. It doesn't matter their principles, because they're always going to adjust those morals, values, and principles and integrity based on their children. It's not going to be the opposite. So their children are guiding their principles, morals, values, and integrity, rather than the parents' principles, morals, values, and integrity guiding the children. Let me give you some examples. Actually, before I give you examples, let me kind of unpack it a little bit more. So I was looking at a few different videos, and I watched that Matt Walsh documentary, What is a Woman, a while ago. And he has some other videos that are focused on like the LGBTQ agenda overall. And I came across one video that I'm going to show you all, and where there was like a gay choir, and some of the lyrics to their songs were coming for your children. And at first I just laughed at it. It's just one guy, or it was one guy, and then it turned into a quote unquote gay choir, because a lot of other people, it was like some graphic that showed almost like the Brady Bunch, showing a bunch of people singing these lyrics. And one thing that I always do is give credit where credit is due, right? I try to always make sure that I'm doing that, because it allows me to appreciate certain techniques by people that I may not necessarily agree with, but it allows me to learn from the things and the strategies that they're using to be effective. Very important, for me at least. So I've always given credit for the LGBTQ community, how they're able to unite, how they're able to leverage their small base, but leverage their small base being united, being fearless and ferocious, to be more impactful than a lot of groups that are way larger than them. All right. So I've always given credit. You know, we've talked about it before, how Joe Biden, when he was running for president, he made the claim, well, he said clearly, the LGBTQ agenda is my number one priority. That's how strong they were. This is a group that does not have a large percent of our country. Even though the numbers have grown tremendously, I think because a lot of the influence. However, even with that, it's still a very small percentage. I think it was maybe somewhere between like 3 to 5% or something. It used to be like 0.6%. So it's growing tremendously, but it's still low. But for you to say that that's your number one priority, especially you being who you are, but neither here nor there. I just respect how they were able to leverage their power. And when I say I respect it, I mean, I may not like it, but you got to give credit where credit is due. So they may be my enemy or whatever else, however you want to put it, on a different side, on a different team. However, they're making an impact. They're making an impact. So let me play you this video, and then we'll get into more of the discussion. All right, let's share this. Which one do we want to share first? Boom.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep him from disco, warn about San Francisco, make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
There you go.
All right. Well, there you have it. And, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, it's just a joke, you know, but is it though? You know, are they to the point where they've been winning so much where they're just letting it all hang to the point where they're going to throw it right in your face, tell you exactly what they're doing. And is it working? Like, is it working? And I actually want to keep playing it because there's the second video that I was referring to. Let's check that out.
That is ultimately the goal. Now, we also have, okay, we'll play this clip for you real quick too, because then the song goes on. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but I think the creepiest part of the whole song, you probably thought that it couldn't get creepier than that. Well, it does. Here you go.
We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them.
Oh, no.
And there you have it. Unless that's AI, you know, it's very interesting, and it's very interesting. So they're smart. They get it. We live in a society where children, and we've seen this more and more. We've talked about it for years, not necessarily in regards to this topic, but how parents now are being controlled by their children. Most parents, I was joking the other day saying most parents treat their kids like they're their little brothers and little sisters, almost as if, you know how you have like a little badass little brother or something who may curse all the time, and you think it's funny, so you show him off to your friends, like, yo, listen to him, like, yo, talk to my friends, man, curse them out. That's how I see us raising our kids in a lot of ways, and us being raised by our parents. It's more of like a friendship, you know. I know marriages now, the cool thing is partnership. It seems like parenting is more, you know, a friendship. So they are right. They are right. Based on this logic, it makes sense why they have been so impactful. And that's why I said, like, if we're willing to change our values, honor, integrity, and principles and moral compass based on how our kids feel, and like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if we are willing to compromise in those areas based on whatever our kids think, and we're willing to adjust our principles, morals, and values based on how our kids think, then kids are controlling everything. Kids are controlling everything. Kids are controlling everything. And when we compromise our principles and values for our kids, we do a disservice to society and our future generations. When we compromise our principles and values for our kids, we do a disservice to society as well as our future generations. Now, you may be thinking like, that sounds crazy. You know, that he's being extreme. It's just a reality. I'm not saying that one is right or wrong, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact. And another instance of a video that I want to bring up is Joe Biden's video. And you'll understand what I'm saying a little bit more after that. But I do want to say that once people compromise their principles and values for their children, you know, not only are you doing a disservice to society and future generations, but there's no longer any foundation to stand on, because you're adjusting your foundation and changing your foundation based on how your kids are feeling in the moment. And when everybody's changing their foundation or basing them on how our kids feel, then we will be on shaky ground. We will be on shaky ground and move away from a selfless place and move it to a selfish place, because there will be nothing there will be no principles to stand on that allow me to interact with the rest of society with a certain level of foundational principles and values based on how we treat each other. Everything's going to be based on how my kid feels. And I'm going to change how I see the world based on how my kid feels. You get what I'm saying? Let me play this next video, and y'all tell me if it's making any sense for y'all. All right, so here we have Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Joe Biden's giving his address talking about, I believe, the crime bill, and Hunter Biden, his son, on the right. We can see what he's engaging in, but he's smoking crack. Let's take a look at this.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own, everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Wow. So why did I play that? Why did I play that? We all know what's been going on right now recently with, well, hopefully, you know, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has gotten himself in trouble. It's seeped into a lot of the things that Joe Biden is doing. He's getting questioned whether or not he had certain involvements in business dealings. It's not just the smoking the crack that Hunter Biden is dealing with. But I just want to use that example because Joe Biden, I think it's been very clear that we could say that he's doing any and everything to prevent his child from going to prison. However, when it was your child or your grandkid or your niece and nephew, he let it be known very clearly how he feels. He said something this big, right? Piece of crack that big. You're going to jail automatically 5 years. We don't want to hear it. I don't care if you're a sociopath. I don't care about your mental health issues. I don't care what led you to doing it. 5 years. But when it's his child's getting off on stuff that most people are serving years for. But his son's getting off. So where's the integrity? You're fine locking up other people's kids, but not locking up your own. Now we can sit here and say, Joe Biden already lost 2 kids. Totally understand that. And like I said, I'm not here for the moral argument of whether it's right or wrong. I'm just more so breaking down how I believe things will fall into place if we adopt this way of thinking. You get what I'm saying? So let's think about Joe Biden again. A lot of parents, I'm not a parent, so I've never been in a situation to have to compromise my principles, morals, and values in order to protect and support my child. So I'm not going to give, what I would do. However, most parents watching this may say, hey, I'm protecting my kid, period. But if we do that, we are losing all credibility. We lose all credibility because you can't stand on principles, morals, and values, especially being in a leadership position, and hold everybody else accountable to a certain standard, but then compromise your principles and morals as it pertains to those standards just to save your kid. Once you do that, what is everybody else going to do that follows you? You're the president doing this. So what are all the citizens going to feel? We're going to feel like, shoot, we could do the same thing. Yeah, I have, my standards, my principles, my morals and values, but shoot, the president compromised his to save his family, so I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if everybody buys into that, where does that land us? Where it lands us is everybody doing what's in their best interest at all times. So there are no standards, because if you're willing to compromise standards based on who the situation involves, then that's not a standard. Then those are not your principles. Those are not your values. Those are not your morals. And it may be easy for me to sit up here and talk about it, but like I said, I'm not judging as far as right and wrong in this particular video. For me, this was all about me realizing that I may be targeting the wrong audience. Now I'm gonna leave you with one more video. One more video that's our favorite show, right? The View. And I just want you to pay attention to how they respond and speak about Joe Biden compromising his morals and values and integrity to support and save his son. Let's get a look at that.
Last week, Hunter Biden accepted a plea deal with prosecutors on tax and gun charges. This week, the White House has to defend inviting him to a state dinner. Here's the clip.
The president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and the decision-making of why the president decided to invite.
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into it.
Do you wish that perception were different?
You always wish there were different perceptions, but that's not reality. Reality is whether or not someone is going to be able to get their insulin, and the president has made changes. Reality is whether someone has a job. Reality is when they can go visit their grandma again in an assisted living. Those are people's realities, not who is sitting where at a state dinner.
Oh, okay. Look, I've known Joe Biden since he was a senator for about 20-some years. I can't tell you how much his life has been marked by losing not one child, but two children. Yeah. And once you've lost a child, I think you are absolutely determined. It's even more urgent. It's even a bigger issue that you will not lose another one. Yeah. The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it. That's who he is. That is part of his heart. There was 380 people at this dinner. It's not like Hunter was sitting at Merrick Garland's lap. It was a bunch of people, and I think part of the reason that Hunter Biden has been able to get out of addiction is because Joe Biden embraced him entirely, the entire time. Yeah. When he was vice president, when he was candidate, when he was out of office, and now as president.
And I was going to add to that,
because Joe Biden embraced him. Part of the reason that Garland's lap, 180 people at the first. Take it or leave it.
Pay attention to what she just said.
And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
He is a father first. Take it or leave it. Perhaps if you have a father first mentality, you shouldn't be president. Because if you're willing to change your standards and to compromise your standards, values, principles, and integrity and morals as the president of the United States in order to save your son, then that sets a terrible precedent for the rest of our country. And like I said, I can only imagine how hard it is, but it is what it is, right? Nobody asked you, nobody begged you to become president. Nobody begged you to get into politics. You chose to make these decisions on your own. So therefore, when you accept the responsibility of becoming a president, you can't be a father first. You have to be the president first. You have to be a man that stands on their word first. A man that has principles, values, integrity, and standards that he's telling everyone else to live by, but has to be an example of living those very same standards. Because if he's not, it destroys all credibility. And it validates everybody else who he leads to do the very same thing. So once again, I want to, and I brought that last video up to show how people are very sympathetic of him. Well, you can sit here and say all you want, like this lady was saying, oh, if Joe Biden didn't embrace him, then he may still be an addict. He may have all these other issues. Yeah, that's what a lot of American citizens go through. That's what, unfortunately, a lot of people who are addicts in this country, that's what their families go through. That's what they go through. And they are held accountable for that. And a lot of times get locked up, spend time in prison. It affects their record. It affects them for the rest of their lives. So Joe Biden may be able to lean on this elitism and this status that he has and this quote unquote white privilege that a lot of the Democrats like to use when they're talking about Republicans and conservatives. However, he's exhibiting the same behavior. So I just once again wanted to just ask the question. Would you compromise your values, principles, and integrity, your standards, in order to save, help, support your child? And even if you would, I guess I have to ask the follow-up question. Does it change if you run for and are in a position to where you're leading others, like the president of the United States? And it may or may not change, because everybody's influencing somebody else. So even if it's just within your family, and your family sees that you compromise your morals, principles, and integrity for your child, what does that teach your child? What does that teach the other people in your family? And I get it. I totally get it. And I think there's another combo that I'm going to have after this one. And it's going to be more so focused on why it's important in relationships, I would think, to have a very good understanding, because I expected most women to be more so of the mindset to where they're protecting their children by any means necessary, regardless of whether or not they need to compromise their principles and morals and integrity, because they're more nurturers. Women, females, most species, most of the time are the nurturers and the ones that will viciously, by any means necessary, defend their offspring. Y'all should watch some nature shows if y'all don't. So based on that, and my thinking that I was going into it thinking more women would be more on that end, that is why, in my opinion, it's so important for us to have stand-up men, because it's a yin and a yang, right? A woman brings something of hers, a man brings the opposite. However, if two people are on either side, let's say if two people are on just, no, I'm staying true to my integrity and my principles, then your kid may be neglected from a nurturing standpoint and a support standpoint. Now, let's say if both are on the side of, I'm compromising for my kids, then your principles, you lose that. You lose everything that you stand on, you lose credibility in those areas, including the person, the child that you're saving or supporting. So, like I said, I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong. These were just more thoughts that were running across my head with the overall thought, as far as, or the question, I should say, am I speaking to the right people? And it makes me wonder, maybe this is the reason why they try to cancel certain people, because they have a certain influence over young kids. So maybe I should be making more videos for children or younger adults, at least. But just a thought. So just wanted to leave y'all with that. Appreciate y'all tapping in, and let me know what y'all think. Please like, subscribe, and if you do dislike, feel free, but give me a comment at least telling me why. I'm always, like I say, I'm always open to being wrong or being able to see things and see things clearer, and to shift my strategy, to shift my communication to be most effective. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Onward and upward, strength and honor. Get to the bag with integrity, of course. All right. I'll see y'all soon.